Hello everybody, I'm Duck7. This is another Izzet control video. We are playing the Narset Days Undoing combo in the Blue Moon shell. You will see some typical cards you would expect to see here, like a Bolt, Consider, Counterspell, Expressive Iteration. Other than that, other choices are slightly different than what you're used to see in this kind of deck. So we have 2 days undoing, four Narset part of the wheels. So with the days undoing, you draw 7 cards. And if you have Narset on the field, your opponent doesn't draw anything. So this is a kind of tap out control, so to be able to protect your pieces, we are playing 4 Force of Negation in the main to be able to protect yourself against strong non-creature spells in your opponent's turn after you tap out on your turn 3, 4, whatever. If you can't hold the counterspell mana at a time, you have Force of Negation to protect yourself in your opponent's turn. Also, for the same reason, we're playing 4 Fury to clear the board of creatures before we play our Planeswalkers, so it won't just die from the creature attack. And that's it. We're playing 4 Fire Ices, very good way to, very good additional removal. Also pitches to Fury and Force of Negation, a very good card in the deck. And we're playing 4 Fury in a deck as a way to protect ourselves in the early game, but also it's our win condition. Other than that, our only other win condition in the main is Murktide Regent. Murktide Regent, I really like it as a 2-off here. You will often succeed to find it. There's a lot of drawing going on, expressive iteration. Consider you can effectively go through your deck. Even the Fire Ice draws you a card, Narset also finds the card draw, so it's pretty easy to find it. You will have it access to it almost every game, and that's it. On the sideboard, there is some additional non-creature hate, mystical disputes, of course, one-off, brazen borrowers and subtleties, pretty good. Disputes, new card, Brotherhood's End. I think it was kind of a card that was really missing for this archetype. A good, very good artifact hate, and we got it in Brotherhood's End. I think this archetype just got a huge boost with this card in the sideboard. Okay, so we're playing 2 Blood Moons in the main, 2 Magus of the Moon in the sideboard, so we are have a pretty good plan against these land-dependent decks. Other than that, some engineered explosives, which are really important sideboard piece for this archetype, and the Relic of Progenitus before Unlicensed Hearst that you would see in other Izzet builds, because it's really hard to grow Hearst in this build, and Relic is 1 mana cheaper and does a great job also with Murktide. You can often pump your Murktide using your Relic of Progenitus, and it's just a pretty one of the best graveyard hates in the game. Okay, so that's it. I already did a video of this with this deck. First video was a 5-0. Immediately next league I went 4-1. It should have been a 5-0 League 2, but I had a slight misplay in the final game. So total score of 9-1 with the deck. That doesn't happen that often, really. So it's a sign that this deck is really well positioned at the moment, and I just have a great feeling playing this deck at the moment. It feels like it can handle any deck in the format. It feels very strong, and I wouldn't like to see it on the um, other end of table. Okay, so I think this version is a pretty competitive one, and power level of this version is secretly incredibly high in my opinion. So we'll just go through some games, watch the other league play. Okay, so this was the first game of that other league. I'll try to make this video shorter, just quickly go through the games, as I already did one of these, so let's just see how did the gameplay go. Okay, playing first here, bad hands, so I mulligan this to 6, keep a decent 6 with not a usual 6 you would usually keep with this deck, but depending on the draw it can be pretty good or pretty bad. Luckily I played the first here, so I was able to just Fire Ice the Ragavan, no need to pitch the Fury. I wasn't in a good situation for pitching Fury because I already mulliganed to 6. Okay, so my opponents played some kind of weird Rakdos version, which plays a Relic of Progenitus in the main. Considering they had a Relic, I had to bin the Murktide. I wouldn't be able to play it soon, so I just really wanted to hardcast these Furies, and I was in a good situation at the moment. I played Blood Moon here, so I had 2 basics, my opponent had 1, so I was okay with it. You will see that I was made a misplay in this game. You will see what it was. So I was in a good situation, played Fury. Unfortunately, my opponent also had a Fury, but I had another one, so it was really a battle of Furies at this point. Okay, so luckily I had another one, so it was my opponent needed to find an answer here. They just they had a Totsis into Obosh hand. They were preparing probably to play with another Totsis just to put Obosh on the field. I didn't play Counterspell here because I was sure they will take Counterspell because they don't want me to counter the Obosh. And here is where I did the mistake. I was talking about. I did a mistake, this misplay, because I drew into Narset this turn, and my opponent was on 7 life. I was sure I'm gonna get 2 triggers from Narset. I didn't draw into any bolts, and I'm already so like 40, like almost 20 cards in a deck. I was sure I'm gonna find some good cards with Narset. I had 2 abilities here, had a draw, so it means I go to 4 cards next turn. My opponent has nothing on the field, just 2 cards in hand, so I decided to go for the Narset play, but it wasn't. It was a wrong one. I should have just put 4 damage on their Obosh and attack in this situation. I also had the expressive iteration and consider, so I was hoping to find the burn spells. My opponent just went for Season Pyromancer, didn't do much this turn, but they obviously drew really well into the Totsis. Totsis removed, unfortunately, Fury, which I was holding in my hand. I went Consider into another hand, so it was just one bad card into another. My opponent played the Season Pyro into the Bone Crusher and got a huge amount of power on the field in one turn, and I went iteration into another Consider just to find a single Fire Ice here, so this meant that I have just one turn to top deck Lightning Bolt, and so yeah, that happened, and I lost a game that should have been easy game, but yeah, I went through the 30 cards in my deck. I found 0 bolts, so 0 bolts in the 30 cards. I just needed 1 bolt to kill my opponent because I had the Fire Ice in hand. So I think it was pretty unfortunate, but not playing Fury there ended up as a really bad decision. Okay, but that's it. Luckily I won in the next 2 matches. Because I won just because deck is very good, very strong. Even mulligan to 6 in this game. So pretty good hand. Counterspell, Bolt, Narset. All this means that I can protect Narset from any threat on turn 2 and just casually play turn 3 Narset. Okay, they went for Relic. I countered the Relic, so I want to save Murktide as a threat in my deck. If I let the Relic resolve, that means I won't be able to effectively use Murktide as a threat, so I countered that. My opponent had the Ragavan, it was okay, had multiple removals in hand at this point. Okay, they went Obosh hand. Didn't have a second red source at the moment, but it's not a large problem. I decided to go for draw a card here, not let them play Obosh before I get more red sources, because it will be hard for me to I wouldn't be able to kill it without the 2 red sources. Okay, my opponent just played the Ragavan like that and without dash, and I decided it's best for me to go with Fury cast here. Okay, this way my opponent really has to deal with this Fury. It's Fury is such a good card here. It's a threat, also a solution for the early pressure. Just works so well here. I decided to go for Bolt on the token before playing this Murktide to make it 7/7, so I have lethal. Next turn, my opponent just went for Abosh land here, so not able to deal with Murktide, which means I have lethal next turn, so we can go on to the game 3. Okay, that was it. So just bolt face again, attack for 7, lethal, even draw into Fire Ice in case they try to do something. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so game 3. Game 3 kept no K-land. Okay, hand, sorry. Nothing special, but decent 7 cards. They went immediately for iteration. Drew into another land, unfortunately, but it's okay. Again, a relic from my opponent. Didn't want the Fury at the moment. I found Fire Ice on the top, so I just kind of waited next turn to kill the Ragavan. I was also able to kill the token. So just find Steam Vents, put land into graveyard. My opponent didn't want to risk it here, so they discarded Narset. I was amazed they decided to go for Narset and not get rid of one Fury in the double Fury hand, so I really wanted just waiting for to hardcast those. And holding Force of Negation if necessary. My opponent, of course, just went for Obosh in this situation. Attack for 4. I needed the second blue card. I did get it to be able to hold Force of Negation in case they try to bolt my Fury and attack me for 6, which would definitely be a problem. And they didn't find it. I don't know. This Flame Blitz ain't that good, really, against me. Okay, I was able to go for Narset, find the counterspell, and protect my Narset through next turn to be able to use her ability again. I let Relic resolve in this situation. My opponent just plays another land, so I'm in way ahead at the moment. I can go for the land again, use the Narset ability again, and have enough lands so I can play a Fury and Fire Ice, so kill the Obosh and attack with my Fury and put them into very little range for next turn. Of course, they go for the Season Pyro to jump the Fury. But I have Force now on their turn. They can't use the Season Pyro effectively with Narset on the field or Fable or anything really. So that's it. That was match 1. Sorry. Okay, so match 2. I started first with a very good hand. I had everything I need. What else do you want from your deck? At a modern right now, you have Bolt of Consider, you have Force of Negation, you have Fury, so you can deal with anything that comes your way, even without using your mana. So went for Consider here, try to find another Bolt. I didn't, but it's fine. I was in a decent position. I didn't want to pitch cast Fury yet. I found Fire Ice, but I can't cast Fire Ice with their mana untapped. So I was trying to wait to see if they'll tap out or that didn't happen. So unfortunately, this one Monster Spear did a lot of damage here. I had a decent play. If I killed that Spear, it's happened that way that this Spear was actually their only threat this game. They didn't have almost anything else. If I just killed it, they maybe had mutagenic growth at the time. But anyway, I would have a force of negation for mutagenic, so I would be able to definitely kill it. They would have done 0 damage with a Swiss Spear, but it was okay. Still, I was able to stabilize. Okay, so I was in a very good position. Still, I had a 2-turn clock with the Murktide. I kill the Swiss Spear, so I know they don't have anything. And but my opponent top decked Bolt and the Lava Dart. Okay, I think my opponent was pretty lucky to win game 1. But it's okay, I had the counter spell here, so I was able to counter the Channeler. I think deck has enough removal to deal with the Prowess, and it's also much better post-board. I was able to consider into land and then kill their next threat, so they play a Soulscar Mage. It's tricky to kill with Fire Ice when they have mana open, but I had explosives. I played iteration to find more lands, which was pretty good for me at this point. I had a relic on the field, which makes me safe from the breach and other stuff. So They were looking probably for a threat. Didn't find it. I had multiple options here, just consider. I wanted to try to find the Murktide before cracking with the relic, so I was in no hurry to do this. I had a Force, had a Fire Ice, had a Fury to deal with their threats. Okay, and I did. The patience was worth it. I did find my Murktide. I played it as an 8/8 with the ability to draw a card from Relic and put another three counters on the Murktide. I really just wanted to. I think I made a mistake here. I should have gone Fire to face and then exiled the Relic. I didn't realize at the moment that it would be lethal. But it didn't matter because it would be exactly lethal if I did this, so it was a fail. But it's not that important because it was impossible for my opponent to do anything in this situation. They can deal with 11/11 Murktide. They have no graveyard. I had Fire Ice and Force of Negation. My opponent done the best they could. And I was able to just play the Fury, kill the Channeler, and attack them with Murktide again, so that was GG. Okay, sorry, it wasn't. They had mutagenic growth which enabled their Channeler to survive, but still there is no top deck in their deck that makes this game manageable for them. So it was time for game 3. Obviously had to mulligan this. Easy mulligan, also mulligan this to 5. Kept decent 5. With the decent 5 cards, you can very easily win against Prowess. My opponent also mulliganed to 6, which obviously helped, but I had a good hand here. They went for to save their Spear on turn 1. But didn't have much going on. It was too risky to try Fire Ice the Spear, obviously, so I just went for Explosives this turn, hold the Spell Pierce. In case they try to do something crazy, they resolve the Bolt. There was no point in Spell Piercing the Grapeshaft, so I just let all of this through. My opponent gets in for 3 damage with Spear. Okay, so I just wanted to kill the Spear and then try to do something on my turn. For some unknown reason, my opponent plays the Channeler before attack, so I just accidentally killed their Channeler. This is really weird. I just play Relic of Progenitus at this point to be able to deal with Breach if they play it, and while also holding the Pierce and Force of Negation, so I just wanted to get rid of their graveyard, draw a card, try to find more lands, and at this point I had enough lands to be perfectly safe from anything they play. So I just drew into more counter spells and finally find those lands, so I was able to deal with counter anything they play for the rest of the game. So pretty easy situation from this point. I just needed to play lands and wait until I find more threats. until I find this Murktide. I did find it, but I was in no hurry to play him. I just needed to cast my counter spells, forces, fire ices, whatever, and then cast my Murktide and win. I decided just to go for force here to be able to play. I don't know why my opponent played the Lava Dart here, really not sure. I just went for the Fire Ice tap here, then play the Consider. Play the Murktide while holding the counter spell pretty much GG. I decide to go. I decide to counter the Bolt. I don't want to go too low. So I played all my stuff here. I bolted them face, exiled the graveyard to get +3 counters on Murktide and to win on the same turn. Okay, so that's how you win with. That's how you play Relic of Progenitus, in the Murktide deck. In this type of Murktide deck, of course, Unlicensed Hearth has its advantages in standard Murktide decks versions. Okay, so that's it. That was the last game of match 2. Okay, so match 3 was against very interesting Goblin combo. I had to mulligan, obviously, starting hand into one lander, but one lander with Consider. I'm playing 22 lands in this deck, so it's pretty high chance to get land on the draw with Consider in hand. My opponent played Goblins combo against deck that plays 4 Fury, so I was just able to pitch Fury, kill both their Hierarchs, kill the Skill Prospector. Deck kept a one lander, so it was problem for them. I play a lot of removal in the deck, so I decided to immediately clear the Hierarch, take their mana sources off. Okay, they get. I was able to play my Murktide at the point. I just exiled the Blood Moon, didn't use it. So next turn, if I get the land, I'm able to play the Fury again, and it ended up perfectly for me, just drawing this land to kill the Anarchomancer, and it was enough for my opponent. That was it. Okay, so the combo is pretty aggressive. I again kept a mediocre urban lander, so I have to find a land here, or I immediately lose. It wasn't such a bad hand, but the draws weren't very good. And my opponent had a pretty aggressive start, so I went for Consider, finding a land, being able to Fire Ice here, obviously pretty good. So I destroyed 2 tokens, no Fury for me, but I had a Fire Ice and a Brotherhood's End. Did also find the third land, which was pretty important, but you can see that the draws were pretty awkward, so both Murktides in hand and 3 Narset. Pretty awkward draws. Put me in a pretty weird situation, and they did find Anarchomancer here. I didn't have another removal, and Anarchomancer is just a pretty important card in their deck. They can just really go off like this pretty soon. Pretty easy, especially after they find the Horde Master. They just sack a bunch of goblins, get a bunch of mana, exile a bunch of cards, then play those cards. Again, it's pretty interesting combo, pretty fun to play, I imagine. And that was it. It was time for game 3. Okay, so They did it in game 2, but playing first with a much better hand is much easier. So, especially with Fury in hand, Fury is so good in these matchups. It's incredible. Hmm. Okay, I had counterspell at this point. I decided to definitely get rid of the second vial, because that way they can get all around my counterspells, which is definitely not something I want. They put this prospector into play, so in this situation I wanted to tap for Narset because I needed to find other cards that will win me the game. They didn't have a second land, so it was a pretty good situation for me. Thanks to Considers and Narset, I find the explosives. So I was just able to get rid of the Ether Vial and Scared Prospector, which is the most important card in their deck. Ideal hand for me. Fire Ice, 2 bolts, Fury, 4 mana on the field. Second Fury in hand, just I don't know what else can you want here. So I went for Fire Ice, holding the bolts in hand. In this situation, pretty impossible for my opponent to do anything. I decided to go for Fury to start pressuring my opponent's life total. They don't really play much removal, so they kind of have the jump block, which is good for me. It's very hard for them to do anything out of this situation. They concede. That was match 3. Okay, we will now watch the match 4. Okay, so this was immediately after the 5-0 league. So I had 9-0, 9-0 at the moment. I had 9-0 at the moment, so it was on a pretty good run with this deck, I would say. Pretty incredible. It's not very often you get 9-0 with any deck, even the strongest deck in format. So I actually f6'd in this situation until end of turn. I would usually counter this otherworldly gaze, and but I really often in a hurry with the f6, so I failed again because of this situation. Um, Unfortunately, I did fill my graveyard with a lot of instants, so I was still in a manageable position, but a hard one. If I just countered, that first gaze, I think I would definitely win. Okay, so I was still in an okay position, but a hard one, because I was able to play 7/7 Murktide while holding the counterspell. But with this much cards in their graveyard, things just happen randomly. So they played the Ox. I had the counterspell for Ox, so I was kind of safe. But unfortunately, the Creeping Chill at this turn triggered these guys, which triggered the 3 amalgams. So yeah, if not for Creeping Chill, I will probably be able to raise them and win this match. But that one Creeping Chill was pretty good. Okay, they also put 2 blockers in, and all of these, so I had to concede. But I have a decent sideboard for this matchup. The non-creature spell Force of Negations, Spell Pierce, Relic of Progenitus, all very good cards here, very useful. I kept a mediocre hand. Okay, didn't f6 this time. My opponent kept a very awkward hand. Like, very awkward, so... Okay, the hand they kept, this was pretty much unkeepable. I decided to go for a Narset here. Just try to find the relic of Progenitus. But my opponent just really had the worst hand. I didn't find any removal at this point, so I had to let this Celesmith Ghoul kill my... Okay. Okay, they put the creature, sorry, the Dark Blast into their hand. They tried to kill my Murktide by playing 2 Dark Blasts, but I had 2 Force of Negations, and I was able to play my Narset while holding a Counterspell. So I was pretty much safe. Days Undoing also clears their graveyard. It's a pretty good card in the matchup. I was safe that my Narset is going to survive. Also with Counterspell in hand, they can't do a lot, and I countered the Stinkweed Imp because now after attack I went for iteration first and find the Fire Eyes to kill them immediately. Okay, so that was game 2. I won game 2 just because my opponent kept a pretty awkward hand, of course. But with a hand like this in game 4, I can definitely win against this deck easily. Okay, so went for Relic turn 1 with Force and Counterspell in hand. I'm pretty safe from most of the stuff they can do. Also, a Relic on the field, great. Okay, so of course I went for Force in this situation, protect my Relic of Progenitus, but my opponent had Thoughtseize. But I also had a Relic on the field, and they had just 2 cards in hand at this point. Also, Force of Negation helps for their cathartic reunion spells and similar stuff. So just went for an Narset, find Bolt. Okay, I can't really go a Brotherhood's End in this situation because I need to remove this Golgari tag from graveyard immediately. If I killed both, then I have to crack the relic. I had the Force for their Otherworldly Gaze, which was definitely perfect. Okay, so completely controlling this game from the start. My opponent just not able to really do anything. With Narset on the field, they can even play the cathartic spells from hand, so pretty much locked completely. They can just play the fun creatures from hand. Okay, so at this point, I just kept Counterspell on the field. If they play more creatures, then I go Brotherhood's End and crack the Relic before their draw step. Just comfortably letting this damage through, playing my Narset. I immediately find the Days Undoing, immediately go for new 7 cards. They discard their hand, draw just 1, and that's it. Okay, my opponent concedes, and that was 9-0 at the moment for the deck. I lost the match for the second consecutive trophy. So I was total score 9-1, but the deck felt, as you could see from this video and the one I did previously a day ago, Deck just feels incredibly powerful. Being able to lose game one in multiple situations, just returning post board really superior without letting your opponent a chance to get back into the game, and just a very effective way to deal with current decks in the meta game. And that's it. Hope you like the deck. If you want to help the channel, click subscribe and like. I have to keep this video today short. I'm in a hurry. So that's it for today. Until the next time. Okay, thanks. Bye.